Tonto, jump on it, jump on it, jump on it.
What the hell are you doing?
I'm singing Apache Jump On It.
No.
It's
no,
about the
no,
Lone-
you know,
it's-
we're not
it's
going to
about-
do this. No,
it's about the Lone
no, we're not going
Ranger.
to do this. No,
What?
no.
Why not?
Start the review.
Okay. Hello, people of the internet. This is Kaiju Noir, and Grumpy Pants over here is Pete.
Hi.
And we just watched The Lone Ranger, the latest Disney action film, starring Armie Hammer as the Lone Ranger, and of course Johnny Depp as Tonto. Tonto, jump on it.
No, we're not doing this again.
Okay. So this is the latest adaptation of the legendary Lone Ranger character, who has been around since the 1930s with radio show, TV series, I'm pretty sure comic books and merchandise galore.
A little bit of trivia, thanks to Wikipedia. Apparently this film was the first theatrical film featuring the Lone Ranger in 32 years.
Really?
The first theatrical film, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Lone Ranger is a really legendary character who really does deserve his own movie. I mean, the character's legacy is so huge that he's practically a superhero, you know? He was like a superhero before superheroes were popular. So the story to this particular version of the Lone Ranger is that we have a character named John Reed, who is played by Armie Hammer, who is a lawyer who has come to a local town in order to prosecute a certain criminal by the name of Butch Cavendish. Butch Cavendish escapes, so John Reed and his brother have to go find him. Once John Reed's brother is killed by Butch Cavendish, John is left for dead, but is rescued by a Native American by the name of Tonto. Tonto essentially kind of gives him a new identity as the Lone Ranger, so that both he and the Ranger can take down Butch Cavendish because he had affected both of their lives. So both of them are going after him both for personal reasons. At the same time, they uncover a huge conspiracy involving the railroads and the elimination of the Native Americans who live in the West. So what you have here is kind of like a very traditional Western, but with a lot of in-your-face, big-budget special effects. Now, this movie has been in development for the longest time. I mean, it kept for the last couple of years. I've been reading news where it's like the movie's being put on hold, then the movie's back in production. Now the production's been on hold. It's back on. It's not back on. Then when John Carter failed to perform well at the box office, Disney almost pulled the plug on this movie. And so it was off again, but then it was on again. I mean, at one point there was even going to be werewolves in this movie, but it was taken out due to budget concerns.
Huh. Sounds like I had almost as many cancellations as Duke Nukem.
Oh, yeah. Although, I don't think that we had to wait 12 years for this particular movie.
Yeah.
So, going into this movie, what were your thoughts going into this movie, Pete?
Oh, man. When I saw the trailer, because I saw the trailer plenty of times,
Oh, yeah.
I thought this movie was gonna suck. I thought this movie really wasn't going to do that well. Particularly, I saw the trailer and I saw what they were going for, and it just didn't seem appealing. It didn't seem funny. The jokes the jokes in the trailer just didn't appeal to me. How about you?
I pretty much had the exact same thoughts. Like you said, we saw this trailer plenty of times. It was like almost at every single movie we went to see, and I noticed that it was very action packed, but I was really concerned with I was really concerned with this movie, in that was it going to be entertaining? Because for reasons that I'll explain later, I had serious issues with the action scenes that were portrayed both in the trailer and in the movie.
Now let me ask you this. This is kind of not too important, but did you feel like this felt like a Disney movie? Did this feel like a Disney movie to you?
Yes, actually, because what this movie doesn't tell you in the trailers or commercials is that this features a framing narrative, a story within a story, where at the beginning of the movie you have this little kid where he's at a carnival. He's dressed up like the Lone Ranger because he thinks it's and he like everybody else thinks it's an imaginary character. he ends up meeting an elderly Tonto, played by a freakishly looking CGI covered Johnny Depp, who tells him of the story of how he and the Lone Ranger met. So it was those you end up watching the story of the Lone Ranger, while at the same time cutting back every so often to the young boy and elderly Tonto.
Actually, wasn't too big a fan of that. I don't know, at times I felt like that suddenly slowed it down or brought you back to a different place. And I don't know, for me, it kind of bothered me to a certain point, especially with the boy. I think they chose like a very basic, child actor to just speak out his lines, and he didn't really, well, he's a child actor. But, I felt like that those parts just really slowed down the movie for me.
I was okay with them, except there were two big things that really kind of made it pointless and kind of soiled what it was supposed to do. One was that supposedly we are looking at this story through Tonto's perspective, yet how could he be narrating a story in which he is not involved in more than half of the scenes?
Oh my god, yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that actually.
And second was what I just mentioned before, creepy elderly CGI.
Oh, yeah, that was really bad.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, there's no denying that. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if he was supposed to look like a wax replica or something, or not.
He looks like a wax replica. Remember, like he's standing still, and all of a sudden you start seeing him move. So like initially, I would have understood if it didn't move, but then it wouldn't progress. But
I understand like this is supposedly Johnny Depp, and they just put like a CGI model over his movements or whatever. But I'm thinking, couldn't they just get an old man to just play the role of elderly Tonto?
I think it would
Just
have been
why?
much better than rely on CG.
Yeah, normally we talk about like we save special effects for later, but I just have to address this. This movie uses way too much CGI.
And they don't always. The CGI doesn't always work too well. I think the
No.
the buffaloes, they look
Oh
terrible.
my god, no! And the train sequences, they're
yeah.
like in the trailer. One of my biggest fears looking at the trailer was the CGI looked awful, and that is definitely the case here. I mean, like if you let's look back to Back to the Future Part 3. Of course, it was set in the West, and you have that sequence where the train goes over an unfinished bridge, and it looks fantastic. It was all used with practical effects. You have a similar scene here, which you can see in the trailers for yourself, where a train, falls over an destroyed bridge, and it pales in comparison to what I've seen in other movies, or in Back to the Future Part 3 in particular. Also, with something like, let's look back to Django Unchained, another Western, all practical effects, and it turned out to be, it felt more real. With here, I feel like they just relied too much on CGI because it was quicker that way. However, looking at the budget for this movie, around $250 million, it's pretty obvious why this movie costs this much. Although, if you ask me, if you're making a Western, I don't think it should really cost that much, considering how cheap, the spaghetti Westerns were made back in the day.
Right. Well, right now is the big time where like visual effects is what they want to cash in on. They want everyone to realize how beautiful the movie is, how like how eye catching it is, and in this case, it just doesn't work too well.
Well, there are points where it is eye-catching, but normally those are the parts that did not have any special effects. Namely, the scenery, when you have like Tonto and the Lone Ranger just like traveling across the desert, or if you have like the practical sets where you have them interacting with a lot of people in buildings or at night. It was those scenes that really worked, not the big in-your-face trains destroying.
Yeah, that was really usually the only times when they use special effects, right? Or
Yeah.
CGI with the trains and with some of the animals. God, that looked terrible.
Oh yeah, the animals. Yeah, they're just as bad as CGI elderly Johnny Depp. Although I will have to admit, the last scene, the last like the train chase sequence, Yeah,
Oh,
that's right. Train chase. You've heard of car chase, but you've never heard of train chase.
That was actually a really fan. I want to get to that a little later on, but that was definitely one of my favorite parts of the whole movie.
Yeah, especially with like the music playing in the background. I
Oh,
never
yeah.
thought like there's this particular musical piece that you've probably heard a million times before in other movies, television shows, cartoons, whatnot. But they take this one instantly recognizable musical piece, and they make it pretty darn epic. So I figured we should talk about the cast now. What were your thoughts on the actors who played these characters?
I liked Armie Hammer as John Reed. I felt like he did a decent job. It was nothing too new or nothing too crazy. It was just like a safe performance. What I didn't like was Johnny Depp. I guess it wasn't really what his performance is. It's what they gave him to do. I feel like in majority of these scenes, he's just in there making faces like, huh, huh, huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like there's only yeah, it's funny, but making silly faces will only get you so far. I mean, that's the more majority of like the scenes you see with him. He's making a silly face.
And that's pretty much what he has been doing in a lot of his movies. I mean, I think like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, they put him, that got him on the map. That made everyone pay attention to him, and that's exactly the same thing he has been doing since, just making faces and acting kooky.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is here. I mean, I'm almost kind of grateful that he doesn't get too many talking scenes. Sometimes it's funny, but most of the times he's spouting nonsense or making a silly face. I mean that was one of the biggest issues with this movie was Johnny Depp. And again, I don't think it was really him as the actor. I think I kind of want to say it's what they gave him to work with.
I feel like it's not what they gave him to work with, but I feel like they hired Johnny Depp to play this character because he's Johnny Depp. He's like, okay, Johnny, we want you to play this character.
Do your stuff.
Yeah, do your stuff. Go at it. Do your usual shtick. Do that. Captain Jack Sparrow stuff, but more quieter.
God, he reminded me so much of Jack Sparrow, and like just how he looked in that sense. It
With the
reminded me
makeup and everything.
It reminded me a lot of Pirates. I mean, the character himself wasn't as kooky as as Jack, in my opinion. But
Yeah, he did. He wasn't chugging down a bottle of whiskey every now and then, or what do you call it, rum.
right. But it really reminded me of Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, and pretty much other characters such as the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland, or is a little bit of the character he portrayed in Dark Shadows. Although I probably think that one's a tiny bit more subtler.
Well, now we're out of the main cast. What do you think of the supporting cast?
Well, I didn't really give my 2 cents on Armie Hammer and Johnny Depp. I think Armie Hammer, he played he played the Lone Ranger pretty well. I like his transformation from a man who is all about the law to this vigilante who takes the law into his own hands. As for Johnny Depp, I have to admit I did got a kick out of him playing Tonto. However, in the back of my mind, I was thinking to myself, I was laughing at the exact same kind of material in other movies with Johnny Depp. So while I did, and I liked, I kind of thought it was kind of interesting what they did with Tonto. Now, I have to admit, I have never seen any Lone Ranger media before. I did not watch the TV show or the previous movies or radio show or whatnot. So I'm not sure how Tonto was originally portrayed, but I liked what they did with him here in terms of his backstory, his personality, his kind of, what he's talking about, he's like a very spiritual character, but you're not sure if it's like what he's talking about is really going on or not. I guess it's kind of, I like how they kind of leave it up to the audience to decide whether or not his spirituality
Is real.
Yeah. As for his appearance, I kind of thought it was an interesting choice, giving him all that makeup and the dead bird on his head. I figure they're trying to make this movie look more like a superhero movie, and they decided to give him like a very easily recognizable look. And now, as for the fact that Johnny Depp isn't Native American, I mean, I think I read somewhere that he's like 1/8 or 1/16 Cherokee or something.
I was actually reading into that, and apparently, according to Wikipedia, it mentions that he has a grandmother or a great grandmother that is potentially Native American.
But here's my issue with that is that it is very hard for people of certain ethnicities or people of most ethnicities to find work in Hollywood. You know, 'cause most of the time it's usually pick a white actors or African American actors, and but for other ethnic roles, they would hire people who are not of that ethnicity.
And make him look like him.
Yeah, so I figured like why couldn't they find a Native American actor to play this character? I mean, it's bad enough, you know, we got like white white actors who are portraying Spanish
God,
characters.
this almost reminds me of Avatar.
Oh yeah, where you have or like, not Avatar, The Last Airbender.
There, yeah, that's what, yeah,
We have like white characters playing like Eskimo-ish characters and what or
yeah.
yeah.
Ugh.
As for other cast members, there's not really a lot to say about them. I mean, they played their parts well. I liked Helena Bonham Carter. I especially like that she was not playing a crazy psycho like she has in other movies. She's kind of like a bit more subtle, and I liked her character for the most part. I thought she was pretty cool. I mean, she did her part. It's not her character was not very important to the plot. It was just she's there, she does her thing, the plot moves on.
Well, yeah, they definitely made her stand out from from a lot of the supporting cast.
Well-
I'll give you that.
Both figuratively and literally, considering how she's like, her clothes are like bright red, where everyone else is like wearing different shades of brown.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with you on that. But at the same time, I feel like if she had gotten more screen time, they would have tried making her a really eccentric character. But so in that sense, I'm kind of glad they didn't go for that.
I think Johnny Depp took all her eccentricities.
Yeah, it's more likely a good analyzation there.
I did like the one of the villains in this movie, Butch Cavendish, played by William Fichtner.
Yeah, he was actually pretty cool. I liked him as a villain. He was really menacing for one thing, and he was really creepy looking. I feel like they did a really good job on that. Oh, I swear, just seeing him with that hat, I felt like the hair was almost attached to that hat, and not like not to him, not to him. I don't know if just seeing him.
Oh yeah, like that's right. You never see him without his hat.
Yeah, and I swear, and I don't know, like whenever I saw him like move his hat, I swear I almost saw him move the hair too.
Oh, like it's like a wig that's part of the hat.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, that just looks a little weird. But that was just me. I don't know if you felt that
Or
way.
maybe his character is supposed to be so dirty, his hair is like greasy and like sticking to the hat.
Oh god, that's
You know,
nasty.
Maybe they had to edit out all the sounds like.
Oh man. Oh.
So now we've pretty much covered the action sequences, the actors, the story. What were your thoughts on the story and the plot itself?
Oh, I think it was a very basic, safe story. I mean, it's very predictable from the very start. I don't know if I think they did mention it in the trailer, but I think even if they didn't, someone's gonna die, someone close to the main character. There's gonna be that separation where they're not friends anymore, but then they gotta stick together and become friends again. It's just a very basic, safe story. There's a few plot twists near the end.
Although they pretty much they flat out tell you within the first half hour of the movie, you better watch out for these people.
Yeah, which like it basically like it didn't really keep me in suspense. It kept me excited with the action at times, but I wasn't like yes, tell me more. Come on, feed me more, give me more information. I was like I knew what was gonna happen. I knew what was going on. But at the same time, I was still able to enjoy that.
My problem with this, I like the story for the most part. Like you said, it's very basic, very safe, but it does its job, and it got me interested in the Lone Ranger himself, as well as Tonto. However, I think this movie's just way too long. I mean, this movie was 2 hours and a half. I feel like you could have easily have shaved 30 minutes off of this movie. I mean, you had like two subplots, one concerning the war between the Native Americans and the cavalry. That pretty much gets dropped. But
Actually, sorry.
it gets dropped by the before the climax begins.
Actually, yeah, I totally agree with you. Actually, now that I realize that, the whole reason of the whole war was to get was for the baddies to get a new ally. Essentially, it was very put together just so someone would turn against the good guys.
Right, it was very essential to the villain's plot. The elimination of the Native Americans was essential to the villain's plot, and yet that situation never gets resolved by the end of the movie. It's just like forgotten. Like, oh yeah, here's a Lone Ranger. He's a hero. Who are those Native Americans? Why should we care?
I mean, they do kill quite a couple of them. Granted that, but I feel like there's a lot more Native Americans than just that.
Yeah. And another subplot that got dropped was this love triangle between the Lone Ranger, his brother, and his brother's wife. But because his brother is cut out of the story very, very early in the movie, that whole love triangle thing, was just like quickly forgotten. I mean, you didn't really needed to have the brother and his wife really be married. You could have just easily have them just be characters who are very close to each other or whatnot. I don't know. Just that it didn't really work with me.
No, I understand that too. I mean, like you said, that the love triangle. I do understand what you meant by that. It wasn't that essential to the plot, and even in the end, they get that little kiss, but then it's kind of dropped again. To the point where like, who cares?
And another issue I had with the plot was that you mentioned before it has that point. There's that point in the movie where the characters are at their lowest, where you're like, oh my god, how are they gonna possibly come back from what just happened? They do that like 2 or 3 times in the movie, and that kind of got like exhausting. And it was at the 2-hour mark. I was like, I was looking at my watch. I was thinking,
God,
okay,
how long is this going on?
Yeah, wait. We have another 30 minutes of this.
Oh yeah, I had to take a look at my phone every once in a while, just checking the time. Like, whoa, how long have I been watching this movie for? But it did pick up near the end.
Definitely picked up at the end.
The only thing is I can say at the end, it almost felt to the point where it was almost like being a parody of Western movies. You got so over the top, so much action, so much like, and the music especially made it feel like over the top. I was like, oh my god, I was really enjoying it, but I couldn't help but feel they were almost parodying the genre in that sense, or trying to go, back to the old westerns. Because if you look at a western nowadays, I feel like it's more serious, it's more gritty. But again, like I said, I feel like this was almost going back to like I guess old serials, right? They had
yeah. Like, how will the Lone Ranger come out of this one? Tune in next time.
And with the music, it really felt that way. It felt kind of like toony. I almost felt like it was on a cartoon at some points in time.
Will he capture the villains? Will he save the fair maiden? What will become of Tonto?
And but it was funny. It was fun to watch. But it carried on and on. That final action scene did carry on for quite a while. I'll give it that. But like I said, it was the best part of the movie overall.
Yeah, definitely the best part. So, what are your final thoughts on The Lone Ranger?
With The Lone Ranger, I think it was a good movie. Well, a good movie. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing. I was really surprised when I heard that this movie was being critically, panned by most critics, because
on Rotten Tomato, we were looking at the Rotten Tomato score right before going in, and like 27%,
which it's pretty low.
Yeah, and I don't think it's that. It's not bad.
Yeah,
in our opinion, it's not bad.
It's definitely not that bad. At least, like you said, in our opinion. Again, I went to the movie expecting a lot worse, which might be why my opinion is that way. Because I definitely don't think it was as bad as I thought it would be. As a rating, I'd probably give it a 2.5 out of 5. Like I said, it's nothing spectacular, and it's it's a fun movie to watch. I'm sure, to an extent, some kids would enjoy it. Some kids might get tired after through the long movie time, but
yeah,
that's just how I feel. How about you?
I feel like the movie it plays it safe. It kind of goes through certain genre conventions, as we've both pointed out. But I was really entertained by the movie. While I did have issues with with Johnny Depp's portrayal of Tonto, I feel like it did get me laughing for a bit. although it is the same stuff that he has done in other movies, so nothing new there. I really like the Lone Ranger himself. I feel like they got the character right with, they try to make this character go through a character arc. It was done really well. I like the actor, I like the character, and I have to say, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking to myself, this is really gonna do well with kids. Kids are gonna like this movie. They're gonna probably want to be the Lone Ranger for Halloween.
I don't know about that. I feel like a lot of kids aren't really into westerns, and while this movie might be a little fun for us, I don't know if they'd feel the same way. I feel like nowadays, it's all about
Iron Man,
futuristic weapons, Iron Man, Call of Duty. I don't see this movie being a big appeal to kids. I mean, even the box office numbers show that it's not doing too well.
Well, I have a feeling that if I was a kid, I would really enjoy watching this movie. Although one of the big factors is the runtime. It is too long. That plus the overuse of CGI has lowered my rating down to a 3 out of 5. It's still a very entertaining movie, although there are certain things there are just quite a few bumps in the road.
It's funny. Like as we were exiting the theater, we were like both just saying, it's so weird that we found this movie to be actually fun. We just weren't expecting it, and I find that to be almost like a nice treat.
Yes, it's a nice treat. So if you're at the movies, or if you're going by Redbox or on television, you happen to see this movie, yeah, definitely check it out. I'd say I'd say give it a watch. Yeah. Just be sure, if you're not watching it in theaters, just be sure you have the fast forward button on your controller, on your remote control.
That's a good recommendation, and be sure to allocate yourself a good 2 hours and 30 minutes for the movie.
Yeah, you're gonna need some serious time to invest in this one.
Oh yeah.
So that's our review for The Lone Ranger. Hey Pete,
What's up?
do you know what's gonna come out next week?
Grown Ups 2?
No, you idiot! Pacific Rim!